Welcome to session 158 of the Bible in a Year commentary. If you started the series on the 1st of January, then today should be the 7th of June. Today we'll be looking at Proverbs 22 to 24 and Psalm 3. So far in Proverbs, we've read through the introductory speeches from a father to his son and started the wisdom one-liners. We learnt that wisdom is to be practiced and that these aren't promises or laws. They're principles for living out righteousness and justice. The father started out by warning his son to avoid following those who are wicked. Instead, he should chase after Lady Wisdom, the embodiment of wisdom. Lady Wisdom calls out to all to listen to her, but the foolish ignore her. The father explained the value of wisdom and how it only comes from God. It comes when we put our trust in God and not in ourselves. And it also comes as part of righteousness. They're a package deal. If you're not living righteously, you're not listening to wisdom. Wisdom should be a lifelong journey. It doesn't happen overnight. The father then introduces a second character, the adulteress. While pursuing Lady Wisdom leads to righteousness and life, pursuing the adulteress will destroy your life. This wasn't meant to serve as a commentary on women. It's a father using the idea of a good woman and a bad woman to teach his son wise principles. The ways of the adulteress seem attractive to begin with, but they soon lead to destruction. Instead, the son should hold on to integrity and right living. The father also offered some practical advice, from handling debt to working hard to keeping your talk honest. Again, the father warned about the temptings of the adulteress, the life that looks good but quickly destroys. He explains that she uses all sorts of tricks to distract you from thinking so she can lure you in. In order to protect yourself from this, you need to guard your thoughts from being clouded, not stray too close to temptation, and look beyond the immediate promises of pleasure to the consequences of these actions. In contrast, Lady Wisdom is an open feast where all are invited and should be encouraged to join. As long as you fear God and put your trust in Him and His wisdom, then you will be blessed. All of this then becomes the lens through which the wisdom sayings are looking through. So let's jump in with today's reading into Proverbs 22 to 24. As we've mentioned so far, because the Proverbs aren't passages you study but passages you soak yourself in, I'm not unpacking what they mean. Instead, I'm modelling what applying the Proverbs to your life could look like. Try to find a handful of the Proverbs that jump out to you in today's readings. Here are some that jump out to me. We're Proverbs 23 verse 1. One of the wisdom sayings focuses on those who are social climbers, who want to improve the standing in society and want to sit down and eat with rulers. The first point is to recognise that if you want to play this game, you need to be sensitive to the situation. Be as weary as though there was a knife to your throat. When you play the game of social climbing, you need to recognise that everyone else is also playing and that they are judging your every move and are subtly making their own. You can't necessarily trust what they say or do. While playing this game, do not set your eyes on getting rich, because wealth can go as quickly as it comes. Be wary of those who are stingy, because whatever you take from them, they will expect favours from you in return. In short, the writer is purposely painting a dim picture of this kind of living to say it's better to not play the game at all. Don't try to socially climb. The verse before this section is, do you see a man skilled in his work? He will stand before kings, he will not stand before obscure men. That's Proverbs 22 verse 29. And in the previous chapter, we've read, a man's gift makes room for him and brings him before the great. That was Proverbs 18 verse 6. If you're meant to move in those circles, then let your God-given skills and ability take you there. Don't strive for it yourself, because you'll quickly find yourself trapped by people who can play the game better than you can. A little later, we get a section dedicated to drink, Proverbs 23 verses 29 to 35. It starts by pointing out that those who drink heavily often find themselves full of sorrow and complaining. Yes, the drink may go down smoothly, but it's like poison of a snake inside you. It affects how you view the world, and it makes it easy to stir up wicked things in your heart. For those that are trying to pursue wisdom, excessive alcohol isn't helpful. Then there's a section on being honest and speaking truthful. That's Proverbs 24 verses 23 to 26. Too often we see friends doing wicked or stupid things and feel like the loving thing to do is just to support them. But this doesn't help them. If I was doing something stupid and I couldn't see it, and you could, and you never told me, then I'd curse your silence. We're all better when we're honest with each other and allow one another to speak the truth that we can't see. This is why it says, whoever gives an honest answer kisses the lips, in Proverbs 24 verse 26. This is best done with people you already have a relationship with. If you don't have that relationship, people don't know you care enough to listen to what you say. Just like I don't want a stranger coming up and kissing me, I don't want someone I don't know too well to point out all of my mistakes. I want those who are close to me to do it, because I know they're doing it with a right heart. Then at the end of this section, we get some sayings of being lazy or slow to work. Proverbs 24 verses 30 to 34. The lazy person is likened to a farmer in his field struggling against the weeds. Life is constantly throwing new problems at you. If you're not proactively dealing with them, these problems are going to start to overwhelm you, like a farm fighting against a whole field of weeds. It can be tempting at times to think, I'll just relax, there's no rush. But then poverty and problems will sneak up on you and overwhelm you. Just like with all Proverbs, this needs to be taken with balance. If you're someone who already works hard, is a perfectionist or a workaholic, then you may listen to this and justify working even harder when really you just need to learn to rest. This is why we need the Holy Spirit to guide us when we read these Proverbs. What might be helpful to one person might actually be harmful to someone in a different situation. But those are the Proverbs that jump out to me from Proverbs 22 to 24. Now let's look at Psalm 3. This psalm is attributed to King David when he had to flee from his son Absalom. That's 2 Samuel 15 to 19. The idea is that either David wrote the psalm or someone else wrote it as they were meditating on this story. A poem working through the emotions that David must have been feeling at the time. This psalm is categorized as a lament psalm, which makes up a third of all psalms. Biblical lament is when a person takes their pain, hurts and frustrations before God. It tends to include 4 steps. Turning to God, bringing the complaint to God, making a request of God, and then declaring their trust in God. We see this in the structure of Psalm 3. Here is a summary of the structure, but I would recommend checking out the written version of this commentary in the description to see the structure properly for yourself. But we start with verses 1 to 2, the complaint. Verse 3, declaring trust in God. Verses 4 to 5, remembering what he has done before. Verse 6, declaring trust in God. Verse 7, asking God to rescue them and defeat their enemies. And then verse 8, declaring trust in God. The psalm was typically sung in the morning. It opens with a reminder that sometimes it seems like we are surrounded by opposition. Opposition that is declaring there is no hope for us. The response to this is to declare the truth of who God is. We can support this by reminding ourselves of his goodness to us in the past. We do not need to be afraid because God has answered us and sustained us in the past, and he will do it again. The psalmist invites God into their pain and struggle, to rescue them and strike down their opposition. Finally, the psalmist ends challenging the lies their enemies have spoken over them. In Psalm 3 verse 2, the opponents declared there is no salvation for them. But in Psalm 3 verse 8, they responded that the salvation belongs to the Lord. Thanks for joining us today. Take a moment to reflect on what you've read and share your thoughts or questions below. If you're watching in the future, then you can click here for the next session, or you can find the full playlist just down here. To receive these daily commentaries in your email inbox, subscribe via the link in the description below. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.